My name is Garrett Sims. We're back with another episode of Sports Timeout, episode 11, if you couldn't believe it. This week we sit down and talk to Rylee Adams, talk a little bit about some interesting sporting events over the weekend. And Chiefs fans, we're not undefeated anymore. With all that being said, we're going to get into this episode of Sports Timeout starting right now. My name is Garrett Sims. I am back with the man himself, the Hamilton legend, Kory Hales, joining me in today's weekly roundup. We're going to have a little bit of fun today. We're a little short, ain't got very many fall sports that ain't football. So, Kory, with that being said, I did tell the audience something last week.
You did. You were a prognosticating son of a gun by saying that Buffalo was going to hand the Chiefs their first loss on Sunday, and unfortunately, your brilliant mind knows what it's talking about. So, gosh darn it. I mean, you hate to lose, but I'm okay losing that one. I think you kind of said
best they look all season.
Yeah, I mean...
not defensively, but...
Not defensively, and I think I heard somebody say this morning on ESPN or something like, if Josh Allen were to win the MVP this year...
That was the game.
That was the game, and his fourth down run was the play that we're going to see over and over again. That he goes in for the touchdown.
Well, and let me just get on this. Picture that moment. As cool as it was, guess what, Kory? And this is just me going to get on a soapbox. It's not January.
Right.
It's not January. It's not December. And congratulations, the Bills are doing what the Bills do, but January is going to come rolling around, and they're going to be done in the divisional week. And I'm just being honest because I look at Kansas City, and I'm starting to think we have too many problems to three-peat. And if we do, it's going to be with some dark voodoo Taylor Swift magic. But, I mean, you really got to look at it and say we got a lot of holes. The O-line.
Is that the name of our next album? Yeah, it could be.
That or something to do with Travis. I don't know. It's got to be.
I'm with you on that.
Chiefs Dark Voodoo Magic. Call it. Heard it here, folks, from Kory Hales. That's the next album.
I love it.
I actually would love that.
Yeah, I'd buy it.
You know, there's something to be said about, you're saying this with Josh Allen, and if he wins the MVP, and you got everybody saying, well, now look at the Bills, look at the Bills. This is the same story that's happened the past 2 years. So when are you going to stop pulling the veil over your eyes? Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, I love Buffalo. I love Josh Allen. I love Sean McDermott. They are a great organization from top to bottom. And the only reason they haven't had success is because of the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Until they get over that hump, until we get to January and we start seeing them play football, like the meaningful football we know they can play, I'm not fooled. I'm not anything like that. I think it's the same old Buffalo Bills. I think they're a good team. But this is the same team that'll play Jacksonville in December and win a 6-9 game or lose a 9-6 game.
I'm with you. And to Josh Allen's credit, he did say after the game, they're like, what does this game mean to you? Obviously, I think he's now 4-4 lifetime versus Patrick Mahomes. What does this win mean to you? And he said it means we won our 9th game of the season. Now, he said it with a wink in his press conference, so it carries a little more weight than just your 9th win of the season. But I'm with you. I mean, it is mid-November. We all know how successful Mahomes has been in November, December especially, if he might be undefeated.
This is practice time for them.
It is, and it is and it isn't, but it's still I will take that loss.
Yeah.
I think that loss, I think you gain more from losing that game than you do from winning that game, in my mind.
And you're still 9-1. You still hold the top spot. I mean, the only team coming up the pike that I really think could throw you troubles is the Texans, who are young, and I don't think have it figured out yet. They still lost Stephon Diggs, so their only veteran leader they really don't have per se right now. And I just look at it and I say the Chiefs are still the Chiefs. The Ravens kind of do what the Ravens do, and I congratulate the Bills. They've done what they've done the past 2 seasons. Obviously, for Josh Allen to say that, and I didn't even know he said that. I barely been on my phone this morning looking at that type of things. But you know what? That's their Super Bowl, whether they want to admit it or not.
It is so far.
That's their Super Bowl. You can ask Sirianni last year. Take that, Chiefs fans. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
Take that, Sirianni. We're going to... And that's just kind of the thing, whether we win the Super Bowl or whether we don't. I think you just kind of have to look at the season, and what's... The image playing in my mind is just tired dogs. Like, it just kind of feels like... Not that the Magic's run out per se because we're 9-0 and all those improbable wins, but you got to say maybe it's time to just, you know what I mean? I think this year, when it's all said and done, is going to look very similar to the 2021 AFC Championship. I don't know whether that's the Ravens or the Texans or somebody else, but if the Chiefs don't make the Super Bowl, I think it's going to be very hard. I want them to win a three-peat, but I think it's going to be hard. I think they're going to have to go through Detroit for a Super Bowl, who's very, very good. And you just never know what you get for the Ravens, and you know what I've said about beating a good team twice. So, I mean...
It's, they don't, like you said, they don't hand out Lombardis, they don't hand out Super Bowl rings in November. So, I mean, this game is a regular season game, and it's easy for us to say that in our little cubicle here recording this podcast. But it is. I mean, I didn't lose any sleep last night.
No, not at all. Not like in previous years where I'm like, you know, and I'll just say this, there was a Chiefs-Raiders game, you know, you remember the Derek Carr, there was a bunch of holdings and stuff like that at the end, and the Chiefs ended up losing. That I cried about. And it's like this, I don't even bat an eye, and I don't even think I had an ounce of emotion throughout the game, because I was like, the fact that we're this close in this game, and it's like, okay, play that back in January, I'm good. We'll be fine in January. One thing I wanted to ask you about, and I don't know if you saw this, Noah Gray had inklings of what he could become, but I seen it with Worthy, and he's not there yet. I don't know if there's something he's got and receiver's one of the things I can't figure out, so I wanted to know, do you think NFL receiver is one of the harder positions to transition to? Because I'm hearing it time and time again that the receiver is kind of one of the hardest things to do. How to separate, and even that, like with getting the foot in bounds, like last night where that's not a catch, I think in college, he's used to getting 1 foot down. And so, like, I wanted to ask you this because, to go further, Davante Adams took about 2.5 years before he became the guy he is now, which is a shell of him former self. But
correct. So, but to answer your question, yes. I mean, he played at the University of Texas, so no offense to my Jayhawk fans or whoever might be out there, but Big 12 is not exactly, I would call it SEC football for all my MU people out there. But I mean, you're not playing Texas State, you're not playing K-State, you're not playing Oklahoma State, man. You're playing. I don't care if you're on a poor NFL team. That poor NFL team is rolling through a college team. I'm sorry. The talent level, I played JV football. When I went from JV football in high school to varsity, it was a giant step. When I went from varsity football to college football, it was a giant step. I gotta believe when you go from any level of college football to the NFL, which is the upper echelon of football in the world, obviously, it's a giant step. So yeah. I think it takes time. And let's face it, Xavier Worthy is not the most. He's not the largest creature in the world. And some of those cornerbacks can run like gazelles, but they're built like linebackers. And if you get knocked off your route, I mean, obviously that affects everything. So I mean, I do think it takes time. I think he's going to get there, and he's obviously shown bright spots along the way here.
But what I thought was even more interesting is how much he's improved with the addition of DeAndre Hopkins, which is what you always kind of say that stuff happens, but I just noticed it yesterday. It wasn't like he had become Rashee Rice or anything like that, but I feel less worried that he's McCole Hardman 2.0. He can get open deep. He can catch the ball. He was double covered, at times, and at least Mahomes was throwing to him, and if he didn't catch it, I just seen glimpses of things that I like from Xavier Worthy, and I think that's going forward.
I agree with you. I think DeAndre Hopkins in the lineup and on the field,
he's an animal.
He's an animal, and he is obviously dangerous. You have to respect the guy, so that pulls defenders off of possible double teams off Kelsey, which is going to open up your two wideouts. If you're over respecting Hopkins, then you've got Xavier Worthy running deep and Kelsey finding the holes in the underneath. So I mean, it's a dangerous combination. Man, if we could ever click, like we still haven't clicked yet. We still haven't clicked yet. If we can click, man, that offense on paper looks unstoppable.
Even with the injuries and stuff, you're going to get Pacheco back next week, so I think you get even a little bit stronger. And you look at it, I don't mind Juju as a 2 or a 3 if you want to call Xavier Worthy that 2. Yeah. DeAndre's obviously your 1, and Kelsey's your tight end. So I mean, I think any way you look at it, we're looking fine for January, and I don't think we're going to miss the playoffs at this point. So
no, and I love our running backs, but man, Pacheco is a different. he brings a different level of intensity to it. I mean, he runs like he is completely on fire and through people. And not that our running backs right now are soft by any means, but he just brings a different level that I think will bring another level of intensity to the entire offense. We can get him back on the field. 10 probably makes us go more than we give him credit for.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And can you imagine? This is going to be something we've had probably haven't had in a long time. A nice 1-2 punch. and that's something that I don't think we've had since Mahomes has been here. And a lot of other teams do have it. There are, you know what I mean? Like, I think there are dual running backs.
Yeah.
No, with Ravens and stuff like that. But where I was going with that is I just think Pacheco and Hunt, ooh, that's nasty. That gives me back to Thomas and Jamal Charles.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting his name. What was Thomas's name? He was the Jet, number 20. Oh, my goodness.
I'm blanking, too. I can't think.
He'd been around. He was a really good running back, but I'm forgetting the name. But it was Thomas and Jamal Charles, and I think even Jackie Battle back in the day. And that was kind of like the three-headed monster. And it was something, man. Not the cut-off Chiefs talk, but, you know, Joe is looming over our shoulders. He wants to hear about the Raiders, but unfortunately we're not going to talk about that.
I couldn't even tell if they played on Sunday.
Oh, I know it was probably a loss if they did. We'll quit with that. I did want to ask you because some sporting event happened this weekend, and there was a guy named Iron Mike Tyson and a YouTuber, Vine star, TikTok star, whatever you want to call him, Jake Paul. That happened over this weekend. I don't know how big you are into boxing. I grew up on Rocky, so I fight.
So I was at the Odessa Oak Grove football game. In the back of my mind, again, old man mind, I'm thinking the fight is Saturday night. And someone mentioned something about rushing home to get to the fight, and I'm like, holy crap. And I mashed the loud pedal on my Chevy Silverado to get home, and only to find that my Netflix, and probably millions of others, was in and out the
all
entire night. And I screamed more at my TV that night than I screamed at the Chiefs on Sunday or the Panthers and the Bulldogs on Friday night. So I did manage to see the fight on my phone. I got my phone to work. And man, what a disappointment. I'm so sorry. Like, I'm glad I didn't spend money on that.
I'm glad it wasn't pay-per-view. Netflix, please do that in the future. Netflix should have all of Jake Paul's fights for that reason, so that way you don't have to pay pay-per-view. My goodness. And I went into this so pumped up, so hyped.
Yes.
Because Mike Tyson, you know, he was a little chubby, loses the weight. Looks like Iron Mike Tyson.
58 years old.
And looks like that.
Credit to him. I mean,
there's only one man that looked better this year, and it was Hugh Jackman in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Probably so. No, I mean, you saw small clips of those guys training, obviously as teasers on TikTok or whatever it might be, Instagram Reels, whatever it might be, and there were glimpses of Mike Tyson in his preparation for this fight. You're like, holy moly! Like, he's gonna separate Jake Paul's head from his shoulders. Like, there was no doubt in my mind that Tyson was gonna win that fight and win it early. And in those little TikToks and Reels, or whatever you want to call them, I mean, he looked like Iron Mike, and when he stepped in the ring on Friday night, he was Velvet Mike because he was soft.
You know, and I know he posted that thing and saying his situation, and obviously I'm very glad that, you know, he survived and that we still get Iron Mike Tyson, you know, in life, because that's better than not having him at all. But man, they said it from the second or third round. They were already saying he doesn't have it. He doesn't have it. And it was just like, I was just waiting for Tyson to get one punch because I felt like that's all he needed. Yeah. We knew that he wasn't going to be, you know, prime Mike Tyson, but we all felt like he still has the strength. He still has the power. Even if he doesn't have the mobility, he could beat... We were basically saying he could beat Paul with his raw power, which is against boxing in general, but...
In my optimistic mind, when the fight was happening, I was like, he's allowing himself to get punched. He's wearing Jake Paul down.
Yeah.
And he is looking for one small window to bring that right hook across his chin, or uppercut, whatever it might have been. He's looking for one opportunity, and he just never produced the opportunity.
It was like you were just waiting and waiting and waiting for it to happen. Well, if you were waiting for it to happen, it never happened because, and every time it felt like he swung, it was just the difference in mobility. Paul was out of there before.
Yeah, gosh.
Tyson could even get close.
I did look it up, and who knows how accurate it is because, of course, it's the internet. But $40 million to Paul, $20 million to Mike Tyson. Ringside tickets were $2 million.
My goodness.
I mean, come on.
Jake Paul is a great entrepreneur, and I cannot help but think that these things shouldn't even be considered fights. They're just entertainment at this point.
It's entertainment, yeah. It's when he rolled out in his custom-made car with his entourage and his whatever it was, his $2 million fight trunks with diamonds on them.
Goodness.
And then Mike Tyson rolls out virtually alone.
Nothing.
Like a black shirt on, sleeves cut off, neck cut out, and his black trunks. I'm like, holy moly, it is on.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
It is on. He is all business.
And you looked in his face, and I seen it in his face. I was like, he's gonna kill a dude. Yeah. He's gonna kill a dude.
I thought the same thing. I'm like, golly, but no, it didn't live up to it.
No, and I thought too. I was kind of, and I'm gonna give you my kind of hot take that I was rooting on I was like, well, at least if, Mike's not going to be Mike, I was waiting for them to, hug. And, and I was waiting for, Paul to go up to the ear. I was at least thinking if Tyson was going to go out and he's like, hey, man, I'm losing. I ain't got the mobility. At least I'm going to get a taste of him, If I ain't going to punch him with if I ain't going to get him with my boxing gloves, I'm going to get a taste of him with my mouth. Pull a little Evander Holyfield 2.0.
Oh my gosh, no, it was just disappointing. It just really was. I wish it was something more. I wanted it to be something more, and I'm more mad at myself, I think, for believing the hype. I mean, I bought in, and it was just like, Hales, like, come on, man.
I think at this point I think they call Jake Paul the problem child. I think we ought to call him Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Because we just got to quit believing in him at some point.
Exactly.
I mean, he ain't ever going to. At least Netflix is doing it for free, and you don't have to pay that $80 to $100 or whatever, because then at least it feels like you're not getting totally ripped off.
But I did see where they had a couple commercials, I guess, in the middle. But the NFL's coming to Netflix, which I did not realize. So, man, my NFL better not freeze up like my Jake Paul, Mike Tyson debacle.
Yeah.
What I mean? Like, I can totally see Netflix in the future having a Super Bowl on there or having a playoff game or two on there, and by golly, you got to get your stuff right. You got to get your stuff right.
I think there's going to be hopefully there's a lot of outcry in the way that the world works. Hopefully Netflix hears that and hopes that by Christmas we have it fixed. I mean, they got a good month and a half is that. I don't know. I don't like the stuff on the streaming services. Please, football is free entertainment. It's correct. Cable, should be on cable, should be for free. Netflix, if you want to do something like that, then give everybody a one-time login to go see it for free, and then you get revenue to your place.
I'm with you.
But I think, preach it to the choir.
I hear you.
I think that's kind of all we got for the weekly roundup today. Like we said, fall sports kind of ended. We got football that we're going to talk about next. But hopefully you've enjoyed it, and we'll catch you in the next one. We're going to jump back in with our football segment. We got two great games to talk about. Kory was at one, I was at the other. We're going to start off talking about Oak Grove and Odessa first because, man, what a game for Odessa. And, obviously for Oak Grove, it's end of the season. Congratulations to them on a great season. But, Kory, what happened a bit there?
Panthers and Bulldogs, like we've kind of been talking about it, hyping it up. We felt like they were on a little bit of a collision course, and if you are a Panther fan, it was unfortunately a big time collision and the wrong way by all means. I think it was 31-0 at halftime. Final was 48-0. It was just it was Bulldogs night from the opening kick right through the end of the whistle. So it was. I don't have complete stats, and Coach Thomas sent me some stats, but they had a major malfunction with their stat. So he sent me some screenshots off of a cell phone According to him, Odessa had 458 yards of total offense. Oak Grove only had 113.
Wow.
So it was very lopsided. Panthers finished the season 7-5. Odessa's moving on at 7-4. They'll play in the Class 3 state quarterfinals on Saturday at home against Maryville. Pretty rich history there with those two teams.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I know you know. And so it'll be interesting. So I mean, it was disappointing loss for Panthers. Obviously, those seniors go out having made the championship game, which is an accomplishment in and of itself. Head coach Ryan Sharks was saying after the game that he really appreciated the senior class. I mean, you walk in with new head coach, new assistant coaches, new system, new terminology, new everything, quite honestly, and win 7 games in that opening year, your senior year. He was really proud of that group for leading the team all season long, even through the final 4 quarters of the season.
And that's just one of those things that your time's got to come to an end, and for them, it's never easy, swallowing this pill. But I mean, for what they had to go through, it's never easy having 3 years of the old ways and the new way, and to come out of this 7-5 and to make it to the championship and to give it everything they have. Because arguably, you could say if it's not Odessa on the other side, maybe it's Oak Grove playing Maryville in that quarterfinal. Yeah. That's just the competition that kind of creates within 2 good programs that play each other all the time. That's why I don't think I ever want to see Oak Grove move up or move down, or Odessa move up or move down.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's the best test that you could ever have, really. And I wanted to say something, too, because Joe was kind of talking about it, and he was at the game, that kind of Coach Thomas, and not to reveal any game plans or anything, he ran more of a spread offense.
He threw the ball a lot.
And that's kind of what Joe was saying, it was like, rather than, because that's what Odessa is, ground and pound, 4 and 5 power, trap, ISO, wham. They're going to hit you hard. They're going to punch you in the mouth a little bit, and they're going to run it down your throat. Good years we pass more or pass less. But, even what Joe was saying, it seemed like they were spreading Westerholt across the field, using his speed to an advantage. And that's just something that I kind of like.
Yeah, third play of the game, so Oak Grove got the ball, opening kickoff, 3 and out, punted to Odessa, and I think it was 2 running plays, if I remember correctly. Third play of the game was a simple out pattern to Amari Powell on Odessa's sidelines, and I'm not even sure the Panther defender got a hand on him. He basically turned the corner and was gone. I want to say it was like 32 yards, 35-yard touchdown pass. That was the first of 4 touchdown passes by Michael Scott on the night. He had another one to Amari Powell. He had 2 more to Jeremiah Carter from the tight end position. Both of those came inside the red zone. Jeremiah had 2 catches on the night for 15 yards, both for touchdowns.
I want to tell a little story about Jeremiah. So I don't know if you know this. Back my freshman year of college, he was my basketball partner, like at the Hondo. Okay. So we would play the summer. It would be me and him because we were so bad nobody wanted to play with us. So
last guy's picked.
My nickname for him is Blueberry. So, and I've been trying to talk to him about, why don't you play football? Why don't you play football? He comes to me this year and says, I finally playing football.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now he's got 2 touchdowns in a freaking district championship, and I'm sitting there saying, Blueberry, come on, man. Where was this at? You could have been playing last year before, and it's just one of those things that football's a fun sport, and sometimes you're better at it than you think.
Yeah, it's obviously a tough sport, as you know.
Yeah, it's tough.
And some guys aren't programmed up there sometimes to work that hard. I think of wrestlers when I think of that same thing. Some guys just aren't programmed to put in that hard work, and they finally decide, hey man, you're only young once, and they give it a shot. And
you see the excitement, the joy on his face when, you know what I mean. And I got to talk, because I went and visited Thomas and them this weekend, but I talked to him a little bit, and just, he the excitement on his face. You see the 2 touchdowns, did you see the photo? Kory got any photos? And I was like, heck yeah, man. I'm just sitting there and I'm like, this is the excitement that you want to capture in a bottle, and you wish everybody could see it, feel it, all those different types of things. So,
and you got to be excited about Odessa football the last few weeks. I mean, it's been
something.
It's been something. It really has. And probably something that I would say even you and I or anybody else may not have fully expected. Portions of that, little hints of that, but this has been really good football lately, and let's hope they can keep it rolling on Saturday.
And yeah, you want good football. You enjoy good football, so we'll hope they keep that rolling Saturday. We'll talk a little bit about Maryville at the end. We're going to jump over to Wellington Napoleon. They finished their first 8-man season. They lost, unfortunately, to Braymer 84-56. And I just want to say that this was a crazy game. For people that don't know, Braymer's quarterback is a guy named Jordan Haley. Very good quarterback. Set the national passing touchdown record, which was held by Jake Browning. I'm not going to get it right. I want to say he's with the Bengals now.
Jake Browning, yeah.
Really good team with Braymer. I think they were undefeated, so 11-0, 10-0 going into that. Wellington, and this is the thing about Wellington, every week, at every turn, they have improved. They have fought. It hasn't been, they never got their tails beat in, and they've never quit in any moment. And even in this game, when Braymer, they're red and black, the Bobcats. So I can't help but when I go there, it's a nice facility, and I feel like I've just walked into the Death Star. And you know what I mean? For the Tigers to go in there knowing what they had to face and to battle that way all game long. And I mean, that's what they did. And I just wanted to say this. I think Jared Raymond, he was battling this tough offensive line. And I mean, they were kind of cement walls. That's how big and just immovable these kids were. They were that great. He's battling all freaking night long just to get in there because, he's Mr. Tackle for Loss guy. And he's battling, and I thought this was interesting. I think he finally gets in there, gets some type of tackle for loss or something like that. His freaking fingernail comes off. He comes running off the sideline like nothing happened. He's just like, yeah, it came off, and he's like, will you tape it up? I'm like, goodness, if that was me, I'm freaking screaming. I mean, his hand was covered. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
I mean, just a tough senior leader. Joe Heater did what Joe Heater does all season long, have an interception, scores 2 touchdowns, does so many great things. And even to go on the other side of that, my ex-Blystone, the other wide receiver, to do what he did in the last couple games and kick PATs. And I don't know the percentage, but he made a good majority of them to do that after not doing it all season is amazing. He had a couple touchdowns. It's tough with 8-man, and it really came down to Braymer was just the better team. I don't want to say there was no defense on the field because there were some interceptions and some stops, but it was just 2 great offenses kind of going at it. And 84-56, there was a lot of scoring.
A lot of scoring. It's a lot of scoring.
I mean, and Kory, you'd appreciate this. That Haley is talked about for a good reason because, I mean, he's got an arm. And unfortunately, with as great an arm as he has, he's a little bit on the shorter side, so hopefully he hits a growth spurt, something like that. I know height is very important to a quarterback, and there's not a lot you can do to fix that.
Correct, yeah.
So, but he would just throw these lasers. It didn't matter if he was rolling to his right, rolling to his left, throwing off his back foot. He was throwing these lasers, and they were ropes, and they're hitting the wide receiver in the middle fingertip, like outreached. Hitting him right in the middle of the fingertip. And I'm just in awe by this kid. He's tough. He can move around. And Tigers did a good job all night trying to get to him, trying to stop him. It just comes down to Braymer was the better team. And for Wellington, you're sitting around looking at 8-man football, and you're like, we got second place in the district. Congratulations on that.
Yes.
And they're coming back with, in my opinion, a very young core. Very, very young core, Kory.
Do you think they learned something this year that they can apply next year? Like, I mean, I know there's a difference between 11-man and 8-man. People say football's football, but there's still a little bit of a difference. Is there something that they can take from this year that they can apply to next year to get you over that hump?
I think definitely. I think when you have as young a team as they have, and granted, you don't want to lose anybody, but you're only losing 3 seniors. The way they've handled 8-man all year long, even Slater, some of these better teams, that they lost to, they could 100% they could come back and beat now. And, I'm not saying that in another scenario, but maybe in a different world, I think Wellington could have defeated Braymer, if they had a bad night. I think Braymer just came out and was Braymer.
Yeah.
But I think they did. I think they learned a lot because I think next year, knowing what they know now, knowing how athletic they are compared to other teams, knowing their size compared to other teams, seeing how Andy coaches and is able to adjust game to game, halftime to halftime, quarter to quarter, my goodness, I'm so excited to see what they do next year because I really think they got second place at districts. I think they could make a run. I think they're going to have Carter Bolton as a junior, Desmond Holder as a senior, Johnny Hampton as a senior. And I think they got a lot to figure out what they do best, whether that's running or whether that's passing the ball. I know they get Brody Best back next year. I didn't get to see him play very much wide receiver. I don't know what he brings necessarily. But I think in a lot of ways, they can build off this, and they have a very bright future.
Yeah.
Very bright future.
It'll be fun to watch for sure.
And just a big congratulations on them on a huge season. And I just wanted to say what kind of Hampton said. He's proud of this team. They grew so much throughout the season. And like you were kind of saying, it took a bit to get adjusted to 8-man, but they consistently got better. And I think everybody around them saw that. I think those seniors helped this overall team and culture grow because they were the ones that had to get into 8-man.
Mm-hmm.
And now they were the first ones to do it, and they've paved the path. They said, hey, man, we're used to 11-man, but we adapted real well, and they can go tackle the world if they wanted to. So
I got to believe that no one wants to see Wellington on their schedule next year. And that's kind of the gist I get from it. It's just that this team, like you said, as it slowly took steps forward. It never really regressed. It only took steps forward throughout the entire year.
If you remember 2017 Odessa, and that would have been along the lights of Matt Younts, Brandon Spires, those type of senior leaders. That's who they remind me of. That's what this team kind of reminds me of, is they're very young. They've handled it well all season, and at times, they've lost, but you've seen what they can be.
Right.
So I think they're very reminiscent to that if you remember what happened 2 years later off that team.
Correct.
Now, I think it's going to be faster than that. I think it's going to be next year. But, yeah, I think next year is going to be a very good Tigers team.
Awesome.
With all that being said, we're going to kind of jump back to Odessa versus Maryville. That happens this Saturday. I'm going to be there. Kory's going to be there. Joe's going to be there. All of Bulldog Nation should be there. And this is not only a Garrett Sims mandate, this is a G-Money Sims mandate signed from Mark Thomas himself. It's a Saturday, folks. You got the 2018 rematch. I've been waiting for this since we lost to them in 2018. Unfortunately, I didn't get to play it again. What a huge game. What a huge game, Kory Hales.
It is huge. And I'll be honest with you. So Friday night, I walk into the Odessa Oak Grove football game expecting a packed house. It was not packed. It was not packed. And I was like, on either sideline. And I was a little shocked by that. We're in a district championship game. We're in a postseason football game. This is huge. Winner take all. Where is everybody? And it was the thought in my head. I don't think we're going to have that issue Saturday.
I hope not.
Maryville travels extremely well. Maryville has been in the postseason for what seems like my entire lifetime. I know you have a history of playing Maryville and know all about them. Shoot, Oak Grove knows all about Maryville in the postseason. There is absolutely no reason not to be at Bulldog Stadium at 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon if you're an Odessan rooting on the old red and black. Like there's no reason not to be there. I expect it to be loaded. Parking is limited. Get there early. Gates, I'm sure we're going to be open at least an hour ahead of time. I'd get in line because it's going to be, I think, going to be a rocking place.
And I want to say this because I remember the Savannah game, and that game to me just stands out. That was the loudest. That was last home game we ever played, and I mean that was a freaking electrifying environment. And that's what I want these, what I mean? I want Odessa to surround these kids and support them and give them that same environment because, and here's what I want to tell you. You know what I mean? These guys only have 33 players. You know what I mean? There's been things said about them all year long. This, and this. Injuries happen, narratives are created. Here's the freaking deal. They're in the quarterfinal match versus Maryville, and let me tell you something about Maryville. We're going to get up on a soapbox here for the second time today. And all I'm going to say is they think they're better than you. They really do. And I'll say that because I'm gonna go back to 2018. I'd never been met with such cocky arrogant confidence in that they would beat you, but they didn't think anything of you. And that was just, and these were players that are long graduated. But guess what? It's the same two coaching staffs.
Yeah.
So I remember this one play in particular. We were kind of running off to the side, and there was this big kid. I mean, he had about 3 inches on me, and whistle kind of played. I nail him right, and he didn't move. Like, he did not move. He looks at me and he said, "Hey, man, I get it. You're excited to be here, but it's a quarterfinal game, and the whistle blew." And I mean, that was kind of what was said to me. I don't want to say it was word for word, but that's what it was. They've been here. They've done that. You know what I mean? And it's kind of one of those things where I want Odessa to win this more than anything in the world. I want them to send the Spoof Hounds home sad, because there's not a team that deserves it more than the Maryville Spoof Hounds. And I don't know if I'm biased from 2018 or not.
You sound a little biased, a little bit, and that's okay. Was 2018 the snowstorm in Maryville?
Yeah, it was a snowstorm. It was raw. It was hard. It was cold. It was miserable.
It was cold and miserable. I do remember that. But then jump back to the Savannah game in 2019 at home. There wasn't a seat to be had.
No.
On either sideline, there were people lining the fence. It was awesome. That was an awesome on-campus high school football game experience for me. And I stood on the sideline, and took pictures and a few notes.
We could not hear. That was part of the problem, is we could not hear Josie. And at least I could not hear Josie. So that's how loud it was. I found myself at times cuffing my helmet to try to hear what was being said. That's how loud it was.
Yeah, I would love it if we could have that kind of environment on Saturday. I did see something on Facebook where the Odessa Little League, the Odessa League Football League or admin basically sent out a hey, let's show up for our Bulldogs. I mean, these guys played Little League football. Some of them just 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Some of them 5 or 6 years ago. That's where this program came from, was Little League football to middle school football to now you're playing in the quarterfinals. You're one of 8 teams left in Class 3. That's huge, and it's at home, which is huge. So if we could possibly beat Maryville, and that is going to be no easy task by any means.
No, it's a tall glass of water.
Yeah,
as it is to beat Odessa.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, both pretty well storied programs, especially in recent history. These teams have both won state championships. So I mean, gosh darn, it's gonna be fun. Saturday can't get here soon enough.
And that's exactly how I feel, Kory. I think it's gonna be sit back, enjoy your popcorn, and those type of deals. But it's a tall glass of water, whichever way you look at it. And so be ready. If you love good football, be there. Obviously, we want our dogs to come home with the win. I think we can. I know we can, and I have that much respect and belief in Mark Thomas, and so should this community. And if it was on a Friday, there'd be no doubt in my mind that, people might be canceling work if it was in Maryville or something like that. At least that's what they should be doing.
Yeah.
I just want to see everybody out there. I want to see a great game, and hopefully we get to come home happy with a big Bulldog W.
Yeah. Hey, Arrowhead East. Let's make it loud when we're on defense. Let's let our offense work when we've got the ball, and let's be the 12th man.
Hey, yeah, Kory. Well, with that being said, I think we touched on all the football information we can throw at you, and hope you enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you next week. Hope you enjoyed our football segment this week. Up next, we'll have a sponsored ad break. We want to give a special shout out to the Bank of Odessa for supporting Sports Timeout. Bank of Odessa has been locally owned and operated since 1880. They have 4 locations, 2 in Odessa, 1 in Oak Grove, and 1 in Lamont. You'll find them at bankofodessa.com, member FDIC. Sports Timeout wants to give a special thanks to Simply Safer Kansas City Insect Pest Control. Pet, kid, and environmentally friendly insect control. They treat mosquitoes, ticks, fleas, spiders, and more. Simply Safer offers free estimates and service starting as low as $50. Located in Odessa, Missouri, they can be found at 816-715-1947 and or www.simplysaferkansascity.com. For any more information, call Jason Hollingsworth. My name is Garrett Sims, one of the hosts of Sports Timeout. We have a great advertising opportunity for your local business with 15-second or 30-second ads, either costing $25 or $50. If you're interested in these opportunities, reach out to me at sportstimeout24@gmail.com and or John Spar at the Odessa. We look forward to working with your local businesses. My name is Garrett Sims, and I'm joined with our special guest, Rylee Adams, who finished third place in the state championship volleyball tournament. Congratulations, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
So I just want to ask you a little bit, what does this season mean to you? And obviously, what does it mean to make history in Odessa?
So it obviously means a lot to be the first team ever to go to state, and especially to get third. So my freshman, sophomore, and junior year, we were really close all years. We lost my freshman, sophomore year, we lost the game to go to state. Then my junior year, we lost 2 games before that. So going into my senior year, wanted to go out with a bang, and, we sat down at the beginning of the season, made goals to try and accomplish that, go to state, and be the first team ever. So
that's awesome. And what would you say drove the team to kind of make it this far? Obviously I said the past losses, but other than that.
So I think we just all had one common goal. We wanted to work super hard, and it was a big team effort, all 12 of us together every single day. Worked super hard, every single practice, every single game.
And who were maybe some of your favorite teammates to play with?
I would say Callie Adamak. She just has all the energy. She's really fun to play next to because she's so positive. She's always excited for her teammates. And
do you have any what does those relationships kind of look like? Was there anybody maybe you played with outside of or growing up that it was cool to do it with in high school?
Yeah, so me and Landon Sisk we've played volleyball every single team together since we started playing volleyball. So even competitive volleyball, middle school volleyball, high school volleyball, Parks and Rec, it's been super fun to just every single year we play together, and we formed a pretty good connection playing together.
That's awesome. And so I'll ask you a little bit, does she play in the clubs that you play in too?
Yeah.
So this upcoming, when you go into this club season, she'll be playing right there with you?
Yep, we've done it since we've been in 5th grade, I think we've started, and always been together.
That's awesome. And so I wanted to ask you go back a little bit to P. Hill, and just take me through kind of that match, that entire thing, and what did it mean to you to beat P. Hill after they kind of, beat you the first time?
Yeah, so it was obviously very exciting for me. It meant a lot. It was my first time in my whole high school career we've ever beaten P. Hill. Every single year we've just been so close, or going to 4, going to 5, so close. But going into that game, we were all just so excited. We believed in each other. We believed in ourselves. We had all the confidence, a home court advantage. We were really excited for it. So,
was there any special messages or the preparation that was that different for the game that week? Was there anything that stood out to you?
So that going into that game after we beat Savannah, we had a lot of kind of team bonding things. We ate lunch together. Before the game, we did a little practice. We watched some film together. So really, I think before that game, we were just so bonded. We were just ready to do it all together.
That's awesome. And, what maybe has been your favorite match all year and why? What one stood out to you?
My favorite was probably that Pleasant Hill game, just because of how electrifying the gym was. I mean, no matter what side scored, it was loud in there. Every single seat was covered. I'd say the student section was really good, and I think I had a pretty good game versus Pleasant Hill, so that helps with it being my favorite.
Oh, yeah. It was I was the first game I've been at since high school, and it was a great game to be at, and you did have a tremendous game, and it was awesome watching you do your thing.
Thank you.
And, was there any challenges that you had to face this year that maybe stood out, or anything beginning of the season, end of the season, anything that stood out to you there?
I would say just one of our biggest challenges is we basically had the same exact team as last year. We had Maddie Breitling, who came in as a freshman. She was our only real new addition. And I say our biggest challenge was just kind of continuing to form that big team bond since we had the same team last year. Just continuing that after the off-season break we had. But we did that pretty well from the beginning.
Obviously, how did you like playing with under Coach Disler? And was there any lessons or anything she taught you going forward you might take with you?
It was great playing under her. I think that something that I've really learned from playing by her is just being positive to myself all the time. I mean, I'm a positive teammate anyways, but sometimes in my mind, if I make a mistake, I'll just be like, oh, why did I do that? But under her, she really just pushed like positivity, positive mindset, everything, no matter what happened. So.
And obviously, that was the last game. You're done with Odessa volleyball. So what do you think you're going to miss most about Odessa volleyball?
I think I'm going to miss just playing with my teammates. It's been some of the best years of my life playing with them. They're just so much fun to play with. So it's definitely going to be something to miss.
And obviously, just a huge congratulations to the legacy you leave at Odessa. And I just wanted to ask you a little bit about your future. Obviously, we talked a little bit about club, but what's in the future, college-wise or academics-wise?
So I am going to go to college to study pre-med. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do with that, but I am going to continue my college volleyball career. I have a couple of offers from some places, but I haven't decided yet where exactly I'm going to go.
That's awesome. Do you have any favorites that you're looking to go to? Is there one, in your opinion, that's the perfect spot that maybe is number one on the chart?
Number one on my list right now would probably be Missouri Valley. Just really like their coach and their team. So.
That's all I kind of have for you. So, is there anything else you want to say?
Nope.
Thank you for joining me, Rylee. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Here we are at the end of another episode of Sports Timeout. I really hope you enjoyed this week's episode. It was a lot of fun putting it together. Be sure to grab your issue of the Odessian for all the other good news and things happening in the local community that you need to know about. So with that being said, we'll see you next week.